Hello, dear Void. One of the things that people seem to always misunderstand about my channel is that they think I'm one of those anti-Western people who believe the West is always evil and the worst in everything and all that. And the reason they think that, well, you know what? I'm gonna say some of it is on me. I tend to be very direct in my speech and I speak freely. And a lot of the times I speak from a place where I assume the listener has seen a few other videos of mine, so they get a bigger picture than the one video. And that's kind of stupid, really. That's not how YouTube works. The algorithm is based on tribalism. Basically, people hear a portion of the video, they assume they know into which box they can shove me, and they got me all figured out. And that's why I'm not good in this format. That's why I'm not even trying to grow this channel, really. I don't want to tell people to like and subscribe. I'm very quick to say in the comments stuff like, maybe this channel isn't for you. Because honestly, the way my brain works is kind of like the way they taught us Spinoza when I was in uni. Like these arguments that logically lead to other arguments that eventually lead to a conclusion. And there are no shortcuts when you think like that. So now I find myself trying to squeeze as much as possible into one video so that the actual point gets through. And the videos become longer and I still fail. I don't know how to do this in this format. I'm thoroughly not built for social media. So I don't know. I thought I'll make this point, this little video, just in case someone who had the wrong idea might see it. Also, I might just throw it in the face of the people who tell me in the comments, "Ah, you're a Western-hating Jew." So, first of all, if I didn't love Western culture, I wouldn't have moved to the UK and lived there for over 7 years. Unlike other people who migrate to the UK whose countries of origin will remain unuttered, I didn't go there to change it. I came there to live in British culture, to enjoy British culture, to appreciate British culture. What I found that became of British culture, or rather the differences between what I had in my head and what was happening on the ground, well, that's a topic for a different video and I actually made one. But the point is, I went there because I love British culture. I love American culture as well. Like all Israelis, I grew up on American culture, books, movies, TV shows, music. America is the Rome of our time, and its influence is everywhere. Plus, on my father's side, we're German. I mean, on my mother's side, we're basically Palestinians. My grandmother was born in Jerusalem in 1930 under the British Mandate and was considered a Palestinian Jew. Her father was born in Jerusalem some 27 years prior under the Ottoman Empire and was considered a Palestinian Jew. Because if you did watch a few of my videos, you'd know by now that Palestine is the name of a region, not a country or a kingdom or a state or an ethnicity. And anyone who lived in the region was a Palestinian. So I'm very Middle Eastern from one side, but from my father's side, we're German. And I grew up hearing my grandfather talking about German culture, the German music and literature. Even though he was very resentful considering that he had to flee from the Nazis, and aside from his parents and his sister, the entire family was murdered in the Holocaust. But he was still very proud of the fact that he was, in his eyes, German. Even if a little Austrian midget didn't agree with him. The point is, I grew up on Western culture and I love it. I also don't subscribe to the simplistic and moronic far-left attitude that everything Western is bad. They behave as if there was no war crimes or genocides or slave owners in other cultures. Bitch, please. Even the modern slave trade was actually an offshoot of the Arab slave trade. The fuck are you even talking about? And ever heard of Genghis Khan or Attila the Hun? You think those assholes were singing Kumbaya, my lord, and all we are saying is give peace a chance? Or when they talk about Native Americans and they describe them as this peaceful culture who was one with nature. First of all, that's very racist. I mean, it's a collection of different cultures. It's like when they say African culture. Really? You think Egypt and Congo is the same culture? Morons. And Native Americans, they had countries and wars and empires and atrocities and genocides and attempts to broker peace. The fucking human creature does not change. The West did not invent war or slavery or any other crime you like to push on the West. That doesn't mean that the West has no stains on its history. I mean, again, I'm a Jew who's half German. Need I say more? But I keep telling you guys, two thoughts at the same time. Yes, the West did some bad things, but so did everyone else. And also, the West did a lot of good. Like, how about secularism and human rights and even capitalism, which is controversial, but you can't deny that it elevated the lives of millions upon millions of people. Not to mention the culture itself, the music, the literature, the architecture, the movies, fucking rock and roll. There's a whole lot to admire and love about Western culture. So this channel of mine is not about bashing the West for the sake of bashing the West. For the record, it was never meant to be about Israel or anti-Semitism either. I wanted to talk about things that I find interesting, like movies or philosophy and stuff like that. Hell, my still most viewed video is an analysis of A Nightmare on Elm Street, which is another Western creation. So that wasn't the point at all. The point is kind of what happened to people like Herzl, the father of Zionism, and to my own grandfather, and then to me. I'll quickly tell my grandfather's story again. His family were not Zionists. They were assimilationists. They viewed themselves as completely German. His biological father fell in World War I serving for the Germans, which means that my great-grandfather and Hitler were fighting in the same army on the same side. How fucking insane is that? And even when the Nazis came to power and my grandfather had to flee Germany as a teenager, he didn't go to Palestine to join the Zionists. He went to France and joined the communist underground because he saw it as a European thing, as a fighting against fascists, regardless of him being Jewish. But when he went to the rallies, the leaders were all giving out speeches, not against fascism, not against capitalism either, but against the Jews. The Jews were the problem, and everybody cheered around him. And that's when my grandfather realized the Zionists are right. The Westerners will never accept us as equals, they will never let us be. And that's when he joined them in Palestine. Now, I moved to the UK thinking, times have changed, right? Sure, anti-Semitism exists, but it's nothing, it's fringe. And only living there and experiencing it myself, how embedded it is into people's lives and into the state systems, did I realize that I made an error of judgment. And like my grandfather before me, I understood there's a cultural issue here. That to these people, the Jew is always the villain by default. That they will embrace every blood libel, even if it doesn't make any sense. That anti-Semitism is the only form of racism acceptable in the West. It doesn't even hurt you if you're a politician, it actually might help. So I decided to fuck off and move back home, but I thought to myself, the previous generation's reaction was Jewish self-determination, Zionism, punching back, taking back our homeland and being free. Not to live under the mercy of anyone else anymore because they have none. And they accomplished that. The place exists. I had somewhere to go to when I felt unwelcome and disgusted by what I was seeing. But I don't think it's a proper solution. Why? Exactly because I don't want to give up on the West. So yeah, I think we should make them aware. I think we should enforce a change to their cultural anti-Semitism. And like I said in other videos, I think they need to have consequences to their hate because that's the only way the human creature ever changes. It's how we are wired. So I think Israel should cut ties with some countries in Europe, Ireland, for example, and put sanctions on them. And I think us Jews should create unions and sanction private people who express anti-Semitic views and companies who hire them. And I talk about it in this video if you want to hear more. But all of this does not come from a place of hate toward the West. Just hate toward that bug in the system that the West has, that madness, that cultural insanity which is antisemitism. And I honestly think that Westerners who love Western culture should agree with me and fight antisemitism as well. Unfortunately, I also believe that they won't do that until antisemitism has consequences. So this is what this channel has become, making people aware and making Jews aware that we're not as powerless as we think we are. And also, analyzing movies like A Nightmare on Elm Street. Honestly, I really do want to go back to talking about lighter things. Hopefully I'll find some room for that too in the future.